Ingram Smith, Bud Elliott, Chuck Blunt back again for another episode of the Nolecast, doing the final position preview here as we look at the defensive backs, give a little bit of an idea from a macro perspective as to what Tony White's scheme will look like this year. Excited to do this preview. Want to always thank our friends at the Legendary team. Chad and his team have successfully seen more than 600 home loan closings. Thanks to you, the fantastic Nolecast listener. Bud has worked with Chad numerous times personally. Fantastic service, fantastic level of attention, and it's great to know that you're working with people who support the program in the manner that Chad does. Thanks to our friends at Congruity, everything needed to optimize your business, allow you to focus on your strengths, and allow them to help you with that of what maybe you wouldn't necessarily want to spend time with in your business, whether that be payroll, HR, or various other aspects of staffing. CongruityHR.com, and always thanks to Matt Thompson and his team at For the Table Restaurant Group, Madison Social, Township, Charlie Park, many options under the For the Table Restaurant umbrella. Matt and his team have supported the Nolecast for 11 seasons now. Hard for us to believe, but here we are talking about defensive backs, wrapping up a positional preview series. And this should be a fun conversation. Some nice pieces here and some interesting kids who have a chance to really break out in 2025.
And speaking of seasons, 12 combined seasons by your projected 5 starters here in the secondary. It really fits an overall theme of this defense under Tony White that they got a lot of experience here on this defense. Not always experience in the scheme, not always experience playing together. Obviously, when you go, what are you looking at here? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 portal. I don't need to count that up because Chuck actually has that here on the screen. You guys should check us out on YouTube. I think a lot of these graphics that Chuck's been bringing have really been quite additive to the show. I don't know why I'm using the word additive so much lately, but hopefully this season we have some additive wins in the win column. That would be fantastic. A lot more zone coverage here, which is going to kind of allay one of the fears that I have about this defense overall and about this team, and that is some of the guys who I think are your most athletic players are not starting for you. And that might have been more of a fear for me personally in Adam Fuller's system than it would be under Tony White. I think Tony White, you're going to see a lot of zone coverage, a lot of trying to confuse the quarterback, a lot of zone blitzing. Not that they will never play man, but you will see quite a bit of zone here. And Tony's come out and said it because there's really not a lot of mystery in that because people know what he runs because he's been running it for quite some time and doing so successfully. I'm a little bit worried about some of the upside here, but I think this group could be pretty trustworthy. And I want to throw it out first. They have been so high on Earl Little this offseason. Earl Little was not good for them last year. Mm-hmm. Do we think it's just, hey, different scheme change helps them see the field a different way? Like, what is it in your mind that has made them like this confident in Earl Little, a guy who was not a good player last year?
I'd guess it's his physicality, right? And the fact he's going to be playing that rover position, which is going to play more in the box, more against the run. I mean, he'll have to cover at times, but it's not your traditional nickel that's you would expect to be matched up against a slot receiver as often. And with more zone, he's going to have more help. You're not going to put him out on an island, essentially. So I think it's just that physicality he brings and wanting to put his nose in there, which Tony White seems to love anybody who's physical, somebody who's willing to get dirty, right? So I think that's really what Earl brings that probably endears himself to his position coach and his defensive coordinator.
I think Earl ended last year a little bit better than the rest of the year, showed some positive signs there, showed some buy-in and energy when others maybe didn't. I think that has a lot to do with it. I mean, some of the excitement about Earl dates back to before Tony was even hired, just some as far as the internal chatter in the building. One interesting here, Jabril Rawls is listed. Any reason, Chuck, that why Quindarius wasn't put on here?
Last I heard was Quindarius was dealing with something that was nagging, so I was concerned would he be full go for the Alabama game. I do think you'll also notice Charles Lester's not listed here. Jamari Howard's not listed. Those are guys, Howard and Quindarius in particular. You've heard a little things here and there throughout camp that they might be a little dinged up, but you would think that when fully healthy, they should work themselves in. At least you would hope. I think those are two of the higher upside, long, lanky corners that would be beneficial for this defense long term. We just have to kind of wait and see how their health is. And when we get something from FSU, that's one of the harder problems, right? We just don't have a lot of access to practice right now. So you just you get bits and pieces here and there from people. So I think next week we'll have a clearer idea of really what that 2 deep truly looks like and who they're going to trust to roll out there for the Bama game and who's ultimately healthy for that Bama game.
Yeah, this is interesting, terms trust. I don't have a ton of trust at the beginning of the year on these guys just because you haven't seen a whole lot of them. But as far as the long term, love what Jabril Rawls may be 4 or 5 games into this year. Love what Edwin Joseph has the potential to be. KJ Kirkland, I know they've always been high on him. That's another one of these high school gets that you've gotten and now is starting for you. So if I'm going to be critical in other areas, need to tip the cap there. And Quindarius, when healthy, it was really neck and neck with him and Jabril. So that's another piece there that you feel confident about. That's one of the better identification of talents the staff has done. Quindarius was a 2 or 3 star out of Mississippi and nice frame, and they've done a really good job of developing him. The name that will be fascinated to watch here is Shamar Arnaud. Immediately fell in love with this kid. The coaching staff did as soon as they got him on campus. Long, super athletic. There's all types of hyperbolic chatter inside the building as to what this kid can be. You just need him to get on the field and have some plays. Let's not talk about him being a first-round pick or whatever. Just let him get out there, let him be comfortable, and see some of the flashes that he's shown you in spring and in summer camp so far.
Yeah, when I watched him play high school ball and specifically 7-on-7 coverage, the long speed didn't necessarily pop, but I remember texting some coaches I know about him, and I was like, this guy's long, not long speed, but like he's long, he's competitive, he does seem to have a bit of a mean streak about him. There's something interesting. I may actually be able to. See if I can pull this up.
Yeah, for this system, there's not too many different body types that I would want for Shamar Arnaud. He's not going to have to run 55 yards in a straight line all that frequently. I love what you have here long term.
I think I also love the fact that it's one of the few position groups that it seems like they have a lot of options they're willing to use that came from the high school route. I mean, granted, you have Earl Little and you have Jerry Wilson playing in the starting role of the DBs, but you have all these high school kids that you've recruited, and it's something we've kind of harped on throughout the entire positional preview series that you've gone out and got some of these kids. Let's get them on the field and maybe get a little less reliant on the portal and start grooming some of these kids to take over and be ready to have large contributions to this team moving forward. So I do like that we see that Rawls, Joseph, Kirkland, Arnaud, Shaheem Brown obviously was from high school, Kai Bates, and then we mentioned Lester and then Howard as well. You would expect, and Quindarius Jones, you bring those guys all in. That's a lot of high school talent that they have at their disposal. And so if they can find ways to use it, it'd be great.
So this kid caught my eye this weekend. Definitely think he's a riser, long kid who is sticking with all the little underneath BS that this 1-7 team hasn't lost a game in 3 years is running. Change of direction better than I expected on our note. That was in April of 24. I think that really fits what Tony wants to do there. Similar to the Nicholson conversation, but thankfully muted a little bit. I'm a little bit concerned about the Lester, Bates, Howard trio. Those guys to me have the more upside athletically. Now the gap is not as big. Clearly Nicholson compared to the other backers who are on the field athletically, it's night and day. So that one bothers me more. But I do think from a real upside perspective, I would like to see one of these dudes winning that other corner job opposite of Jeremiah Wilson. But the thing is, I don't hate Jabril Rawls. Like he might just be that damn good, like Graham said. So that we'll have to wait and see there. Do we think Edwin Joseph is the presumptive starter there at safety just because he's actually hitting? He's going to live up to the billing, or do we think it's who else would you play? Because they just based on comments and based on everything else, they don't seem to be super high on Shaheem right now.
Yeah, I mean, I guess you could see if Shaheem was starting that maybe KJ is playing that free safety position a little bit. I mean, Edwin certainly has flashed at moments. Had some really nice moments on special teams. I think Edwin is, one of the more physically gifted kids on the roster. Maybe has the best hips of anybody that we're talking about right now, and ability to turn and run. I think the ceiling is very high for Edwin. Edwin was he's listed here as a 4-star. He was a borderline 3-star prospect coming out of high school, but everybody knew Edwin was either going to be like a boom or bust prospect. Mm-hmm. Honestly, he was either going to do really well or not. And I think you're on the path of getting out of Edwin Joseph what is possible. And him starting this year, being a physical force, coming up, giving you run support, and being a disruptive in the passing game. I'm not writing off game one. None of us are as we do this, but I think this secondary has the chance to be special is overdoing it. I think this special secondary has a chance to be very good by the midway point of this year. I told Chuck and Bud in between episodes, and like I'm fighting to not drink the Tony White Kool-Aid. I think you got a hell of a defensive coordinator, and I'm excited to see what this defense looks like, particularly the back end of this defense, as these pieces get familiar and as the coaches know how these pieces fit in actual game time. I mean, it's one thing to see you practice each other and think that this guy's a good fit here, etc. You really do need a couple of games in a new system to truly know what your roster is. Mm-hmm. And I think by the back half of the season, you could start to see a lot of excitement from this group.
We've talked about a lot in the position series about where does the unit rank relative to like the conference. I think this is probably the unit that has the potential to be a top 3 in the ACC. Of all the units we've discussed, this is the one I see the highest upside to. I like the pieces they have there. And I think if they stay healthy and they pick up Tony's scheme quickly, I like their chances to be one of the better secondaries throughout the entire ACC.
All right, so let's play this game then. FSU secondary or opponent? We'll count it up. Bama.
I'll take Bama just because all those 5 stars.
Yeah, I mean, Ryan Williams, good luck. Okay, East Texas A&M, Kent State, not even going to waste podcast time on that. Virginia.
FSU.
I think so too. Miami is kind of TBD for me. I could.
It was a weak link last year for them, right?
Well, no, I'm saying like their receivers.
Oh, okay. We don't know what the receivers are going to be. I mean,
right? Like if Trader hits, obviously they have a tight end who they think's the best in the country. We'll see about that, but I do think the kid's good. They took the Marion kid, and they also took Daniels from LSU. They like Malachi Toney, the freshman, but I think that's probably TBD, honestly. So 3-1 Pitt. I think I like FSU secondary over Pitt's receivers,
especially by that point in the season. They're going to have 5 games under their belt. I assuming they stay healthy and grow through those games. I think I would take them against Pitt's wide receivers.
Definitely over Stanford. Stanford's number 2 receivers out for the whole year, by the way. I don't know if that's very in the weeds, but a team like Stanford's not going to have great depth there. Wake Forest, I think FSU, although like they're better than people realize, probably. Clemson, I'm giving it to Clemson. Those guys are very good out there. The Hokies, I don't know. Do you guys like what Vatek has there at receiver?
I don't like their roster. I don't really like their roster all that much in general. And it also feels like Pride's a dead man walking. I just wonder how much, what kind of buy-in and effort is he going to have in that team come November?
That's fair. NC State lost Concepcion, so I do think you probably have a better secondary. mean, guys, honestly, like, and then Florida to me is very TBD. Obviously, I think Florida's receiver ceiling probably exceeds your DB ceiling by some measure. If Brown and Wilson, the freshmen, are actually like that good from day one. Obviously, if Eugene Wilson becomes more of a complete receiver.
They also need their quarterback to be healthy at that point to throw him the ball too, though.
Damn right. Like they're in some ways, I think early on they might be banking on Sturdivant, who maybe he can be better, maybe he can't. I'm a little bit skeptical of that. So Graham, to you guys' point, that's a pretty favorable count for you. And I know some people in the scouting community who really like Ashland Barker.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he's had a limited role, but to Chuck's point earlier, maybe if you do go 2 linebacker stuff, maybe you're running some packages with Barker in there.
Yeah, play that big nickel that some teams are going to, where he can be a hybrid linebacker DB.
Yeah, that's probably the best use of using Ashland and his skills. No, I mean, this is as far as a 2 deep and even a couple of pieces that aren't listed on the 2 deep. I feel as confident as this group, relatively speaking, to the pieces that we're discussing, as any unit on the team. It may take a second, but not to reiterate or not to go on and on, but I just think that where this group is in 4 or 5 games in this system, Florida State fans, there are certain aspects of particular DNA of programs, and we're a program and fan base that loves seeing some defensive backs put their hands on the balls and occasionally take one the other way. And I think you'll see more of that. I really do. I'm excited to see what this secondary looks like.
Plus, most secondaries are only as good as what the front 7 can do. So, I mean, if that front 7 can get to the quarterback and throw some timing off and, put some pressure on, it's going to make their jobs that much easier in the back end. So, I mean, it all goes hand in hand when it's all said and done.
Absolutely. All right, dudes. We more confident in the offense or defense?
I think I like the point Ingram made that the pieces fit better on offense, it seems like, but there's just so much unknown and so much reliance on the offensive line taking a step forward. You expect it to, but you still need to see it. I probably trust Tony White a little bit more, even though Gus does have statistically really good offenses pretty much year in and year out. I think I trust Tony White's defense just to be a little more sound. They're going to have busts here and there, but I think I trust the overall defense and some of the pieces they have. It won't be spectacular, I don't think, but I think it'll be a strong, reliable unit for the most part.
I think that's fair. If you projected like a normal amount of in-season attrition for them, then I definitely prefer the defense, even with me not liking the D-line depth a lot. Like, I think your backer and DB depth is considerably better than your depth on the offensive side of the ball.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome, man. Enjoyed this. So let's chop it here, and we'll be back with snap count draft.
Sounds good.